Welcome to AMP Rapid Fire. This is Asasyn Mental Performance, where we build athletes who become incredible human beings. Talent might open a door, but leadership, accountability, and mindset determine how long you stay in the game. Today's guest has spent over 30 years behind the bench coaching at elite levels all over the world, from the OHL to the AHL to the ECHL to the KHL, Switzerland, Germany, and even the Italian national team. He's built winning cultures, developed players, led professional organizations, and earned, I can tell you personally, he has earned a reputation as one of the toughest and most respected coaches in the game, whether it's junior hockey, pro hockey, international competition. Greg Ireland, welcome to Rapid Fire.
Thanks, Carl. I appreciate that. I'm truly humbled by that introduction. Some days I don't look at it so much like that, but it's nice to hear it coming from someone like yourself. I've got to appreciate and respect you quite a bit from being on the other side of the bench and the job that you do. And so thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Greg. So eventually the role you play comes to an end, but the mindset you build stays with you forever. What does that mean to you?
Well, I think we're always, whether we're players, coaches, referees, executives in life, we're always growing. The person we are at 20 is not the same person we are at 40. It's not the same person we are at 60. We're constantly growing, and you see you go through little changes and metamorphosis. But I think the thing that stays with you is your values and your character, the things that you hold true to, the where you won't cross the line, your integrity.
Very good point. So right now, no thinking. Are you more driven by fear or confidence?
I would say I'm more driven by confidence. Was
Why
that the
is that?
same thing? Well, it's 5 years ago, I would have answered the opposite. I would have said by fear. I'm a guy that came from humble beginnings. I've had to work my way up and fight my way up the hard way, made some mistakes along the way. I learned more from mistakes than I did from mentorship, which is something I probably would have liked to change, but it doesn't matter. We all get to our journey is all what we're all, what we go through. But previously, I would just didn't want to be let anybody down, my family, myself. I didn't want to fail. So I was driven to have success. So I felt that by outworking, out coaching, strategies being on top of our game, those were things that were really important. And it was a fear of failure. I found that there's certain things in life, like you said, that are going to remain constant with you if you hold on to those things and you're close to them. And they're always going to be there. The sun's going to come up tomorrow, so to speak. As I've matured and grown as a coach, I find it's the same as a player. Like if you put fear into a player, you can get a lot out of them, but it's short-lived. But if you put confidence in a player and you build them up and you will let them believe in their skills as they go through rough times, they'll go back to that feeling and they can be able to get their footing again.
Excellent. So you talked about pressure. And we've all been there. And you've mentioned game sevens, and that pressure is at the highest. What do you rely on mentally?
Well, I think now, like, there's two sides to this answer for me. One is I rely on the thought of that opportunity creates growth. And maybe sometimes growth doesn't always come through short-term success. It sometimes you got to fall down to grow. And I think it's all in your perspective and the microscope that you put that under. If you fear challenge, you're going to shrink. But if you embrace it and you walk into it knowing that no matter what happens, you're going to be fine. As I said, the sun will come out tomorrow, but you're going to get better through going through that. And the more that you go through it, you see players that are so good in those big moments. I think, we're going to talk a little bit later, but I think guys that don't get intimidated, that relish and crave those opportunities grow better. But what keeps me grounded is family, faith, and the ability to know that no matter what, I'm gonna get up tomorrow and I'm gonna be better for it. May not have a job, but at the end of the day, I think that the more pressure that you put yourself under, the stronger you get, the more resilient you get, the better you get.
Excellent. So for me personally, the moment that tested my mindset the greatest was when I quit drinking roughly 5 years ago. What would you say moment tested your mindset the most in your career or life?
Well, I think I've just gone through the last 5 years, the biggest change in my life. And I think the people around me have seen a significant change. I'm a high energy. I have a lot of intensity. I coach with a lot of emotion. It's a strength, and at times it's a weakness. And you've probably seen that refereeing me. But I would say that about 5 years ago during COVID, I went over to Italy to Bolzano at Christmas, took over the team. It was a team that a lot of people told me not to go to just because of certain things that had gone on with that club. But I knew that it was a team that loved to win and wanted to go, and I thought I'll go for the rest of the year. I went. They were in sixth place. We ended up finishing in first. We were up in the first
Wow.
round, 3 games to nothing, and the season got called
Oh
at
yeah.
the end of the year. I came home. We were negotiating a contract to stay. I liked it. I loved the players, and we didn't get the contract done. But I had taken on the national team at the same time, so I flew over in June with the national team to run a camp. We ran a camp down at the Olympic facilities in southern Italy. I was only supposed to be there 2 weeks and then come home. I would continue to work on that contract with Bolzano. I'd have a month and a half at home, and then I would go back to start training camp. Well, when I got over there, the contract negotiation went. Long story made short, it couldn't return because of COVID, because of the time
Wow.
frames, because of quarantines coming and going. So I had to stay. So I lived in a hotel for it was 2.5 months, and I
Wow.
was away from my family. Then our season, we went to the finals that year. And right after, I went with the national team to the World Championships, which ended almost in mid-May. So I had been gone almost 11 months, almost a full year from my family, and I didn't get to see them. On top of that, a year later, I went to Russia. And when I got to Russia, the war had started. And as a result,
Oh,
my family couldn't come. It was a very difficult situation. It was a very difficult environment. I wasn't happy. I was constantly pushing and being pushed. There was situation with the team. We didn't get paid for a long time, and then the Chinese national team came in and took over the coaches' salaries and tried to put a very heavy influence on us to play the players that were born in China. Although the level of hockey, second best league in the world, was just too high for those players. And through all that, I didn't realize till I got home how much mentally that weighed on me. I'll be honest with you, I was sick. It affected some things that I didn't know in terms of my physical health, and it took me almost a year to kind of recover from that. And it put a lot on me. Well, during that time, I really leaned on my faith. I really leaned on my family, and it put a perspective on me that I want to be around people that are like-minded, that are driven to compete. I just changed a lot of things about what I did. I enjoy coaching. I have a lot of passion for it. I spend a lot of time studying leadership. But through that long story that I just told you, it really changed my perspective. It allowed me to take a step back and say that, I want to make some changes in my life that are going to be for the betterment of me and the betterment of my career.
definitely a heavy load to bear there. Thank you for sharing that. Wow.
No problem. Thank you.
So, what do you feel young athletes misunderstand most about mental performance over physical training?
Well, although both are very important, because I'm a huge believer out of saying that if you've done the work, expect success. And if you've done the work in the gym, you've prepared, you go to camp, you're prepared, you're ready. But the mental side of it is, I would say, equally or even more important, because I think the mental side is the difference between success and failures. We see all the time these guys that are highly rated in the draft, they come out high picks, first overall, first rounders, and they never quite make it. And why is that? They have the physical attributes, they have the skills to do it, size,
Right.
strength, speed, all that. But I think the mental side of it is the part that's really underplayed. And I think one of the things I would say is control the controllables.
Yeah.
There are things where you need to put your focus on the right things. They don't fear making a mistake.
Right.
They're going to go out and play their game. If they turn a puck over, it's not going to eat them up. If they get scored on, it's not going to eat them up. They're going to be driven to come out the next shift and get it back. That doesn't mean they're going to go out. Those type of people are going to go out and be selfish for their team and go
Right.
totally against what the coach is doing. But it's the old story of finding their game within the team game and playing it, on the edge with an edge to the fullest and not fearing failure.
Excellent points there. Now, what does leadership look like when things go wrong?
Well, this is an area that, like, culture, team building, and leadership are three of the biggest things I put my energies into the last 20 years. I did a course 2018, 2019. It was a seven course certificate program at Cornell called Elite Performance Leadership. and it covered a lot of different aspects. It was a great course for me, and we had people from all walks of life, CEOs, military leaders, because I think leadership spans the globe in many different forms. Leadership can be loud, it can be quiet, it can be hard, it can be at times, kind of not. I don't want to use the word soft because that can be mistaken in our sport, but there's different forms of where we get to. But I think there's a constant view of what it looks like when things go wrong, and that's I think when things aren't going right, leaders aren't setting the example. They're blaming, they're alienating, they're not prepared, they're not communicating, they're not building trust. When you have the ability to step back and keep your head when they say when everyone around you is losing theirs and you can come in with a plan. We had a situation where I'll allude to in 2018, I was in HC Lugano in the Swiss Elite League, which is a top league in the world. We were really having a good finish to the season. We were going well, getting ready for playoffs. Second last game of the year, we were playing HC Davos, and we lost our captain, big, strong, tough defenseman. We lost Damian Brunner, who used to play for the Detroit Red Wings and New Jersey Devils, who was probably the best Swiss forward in the league, and we lost our best right winger all in one game, done for the season.
Wow.
And as we're driving back from Davos, you click on the internet and you see the already, and in the morning you get up and you see the media saying that, well, their season's over. Might as well not even go in the playoffs. You lose three guys like that. But through that course, I remembered, how a leader handles adversity. So one of the things I said is, I got to come in tomorrow and be prepared. I got to show the players that I've already handled the injuries and I have a plan. Secondly, I have to give them confidence. And the way to do that is to show them how they've handled these situations in the past. So in the morning, I got up, and two of the guys were in our leadership group. As I said, one was a captain, one was an assistant. So I walked in before the players even got it. I had the lines on the board. My meeting right away in the morning, I didn't dwell on the negative. So I walked in and I said, boys, it's going to be tough. It's been tough to lose three quality players, but we're going to have success. And I know that because we've done it through the year. And I gave them really quality examples, and I had about 7 or 8 clips of video to show them that.
Wow.
We ended up losing in the finals that year, 1-0 in Game 7 to Zurich.
Yes, 100%. Love how you handled that situation. Great point.
Thank you.
What's the greatest strength you feel someone can possess?
That's a great question because there's so many things that are key. I think the way the world is, the way the game is, resiliency. I could quietly throw in empathy. I could quietly throw in humility. Those are all important, but I think resiliency and whoever the type of person you are, because I think we all consistently get dealt setbacks. I think
Yeah.
we all consistently run into roadblocks, and that ability to keep taking a step forward, to keep moving yourself through tough times can be one of the greatest things, because sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest days. So I think it's really important that you have that resiliency and the strength to drive through and keep stepping forward.
Great point. Are excuses ever valid, Greg?
A lot of thought on that one, but I'm going to go with right off the cuff, no, because I think excuses give you an out. They give you an ability to put up, a fence and protect yourself. You've got to own it. And understanding that mistakes are never final or fatal, and especially in our business. It may be different in some other forms of vocations, but it's never final. I love that saying. You either learn or you win, one or the other. And if you're constantly learning from your mistakes, taking inventory, and moving forward, I think it's really important that you understand that. So if you give yourself the out, I wasn't quite rested. Like, I have a term, I call it parachutes. I think players today build parachutes in, where if they lose, they're like, I didn't even try. I didn't even care. And I think when you do that, you don't give yourself the ability to know what you're capable of. If you lay it all out there and that's what the best performers in the world, they relish the challenge. They get emboldened when the challenge comes before them. They don't go in going, well, it's not, what if, it's why not?
Yeah.
What if I lose? What if this happened? It's why not? Oh, it happened? No problem. You watch next time. I'm going to be better, because they see that big picture. So excuses hold you back. Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Would you cut a toxic high performer?
Yes. And I'm going to preface that by saying that I'm a lot different. Before being really reactive, I was really line in the sand. This is it. Either you come to me,
Mhm.
or come to the team values, or you're gone, regardless. And I have done it. But now I've learned a lot, especially through mental health, especially through the fact that, like you talked about your situation, we're all going through something. And there's a reason people act that way. So my first instinct is find out why. What's going on? And find out why that person is being the way they are,
Mhm.
what's brought them to that point, and then let's be about solutions. Can we come to a common ground? And the other thing I think as a coach and as a leader, and today's athlete, where this generation is you can't demand that they meet you where you're at. You've got to meet them where they're at. And when you meet them where they're at, you build a level of trust, and then you have that ability to bring them maybe towards the halfway point. If at that point they still can't get it, then you might have to make a change. But I think your first effort should be to see if you can reconcile and you can help, because that's all part of the growth.
Great point. You've mentioned leaders a few times and coaches, and I love that point. Do you feel leaders avoid hard conversations too often?
I think where I see the game now, there's a lot of great coaches out there, and there's a lot of really good, and you're seeing it, first and foremost in the NHL playoffs and in a lot of sports. So I think our vocation is moving away from that. But I would have said to you a long time ago, yes, they were, because it was do as I say, don't deviate from the plan. You have to do this. I think coaches now are more willing to have those hard conversations. Now, one of the things that I've also been thinking about a lot, as I hear a lot of athletes say, all I want is a coach that's honest. I don't care what it is, just be honest with me. And I've seen some athletes that when you are honest, they shrink away from that. There are people that do seek out honesty, but I think there's people that they throw that line out, but they have to be willing sometimes. And I think it's how you deliver the message too. But I also think that when you deliver a hard message and have a hard conversation, you also have to bring solutions and a way to bridge that gap and bring that person along.
Oh, that's a very good point. What would you have to say the funniest situation you've encountered, whether at pregame, during the game, while coaching in your career?
Wow, that's a great question.
And we got to put some levity into this. We're talking about mindset and performance, but it's also about having fun.
I'll tell you one of the best things that comes right away. I was coaching in Bolzano in Italy in the Austrian Ice League a couple years ago during that COVID time.
Hmm.
And we had a player, Mike Helmo, played for me, played for the New York Islanders, played for me in Major Junior in the OHL, was my captain in Owen Sound. Great guy. And Helms was one of our leaders on that team. And we had a young rookie, Simon Pitchelder, and he was a local guy, and his parents were farmers. Helms was a guy that was really intrigued about the culture of that region, South Tyrol, of the mountains and the farmers, and he was like always asking Pitchy like about farming, like what? So at Christmas, they have the player exchange, and guys will bring $10 gifts, and they'll give out gag gifts, and it's always about humor. I got another one on that in a second, but anyway, so they're doing it, and it's in the locker room. It's in the evening, and I come out of my office and I see them bringing this pig on a leash down the hallway, and Simon had gone out and from his farm bought Mike a pig as a gag gift, and it was his. Like, I'm giving this to you, it's yours, and you got to figure out what to do with it now. You want to be a farmer? Here you go. And I have a video on my phone of it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And I think those are the things that bring a team together.
That's a great point. So finish this sentence. Someone has a killer mindset when they.
I think someone has a killer mindset when they can't be deterred from their mission, when they're
Mhm.
relentless.
Great. So, Greg, if a young athlete's listening today and is struggling with confidence, pressure, mistakes, what advice would you give them?
I would remind them that we play a game and nothing's final. Mistakes are just an opportunity for you to get better. When you like, I have a saying. It's not mine. I took it from another coach. And he used to say that bad players do one of three things: they blame the coach, they blame their teammate, they blame their system when things go wrong. Good people, good leaders, strong characters take a step back and go, what happened? What part did I play in this? And how do I fix it so it doesn't happen again? So for me, losing is never final. I think I've said this before. It's never fatal. It's an opportunity to learn, take a step back, own it. Nothing wrong with being humble and saying, hey, that's on me. And next time it's not going to happen because it happened because of this.
That's a great point. It's all encompassing.
Yeah.
Very good closing answer. Thank you, Greg. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
At Assassin Mental Performance, discipline today, dominate tomorrow. If this conversation helped you think differently about performance, share it with an athlete who needs to hear it and follow Assassin Mental Performance for more. Hammer the subscribe button on YouTube. That's AMP Rapid Fire. Remember, knowledge is power when you choose to apply it. Now go out and execute.